This video has been very kindly sponsored by Squarespace. I just hit 100K on Instagram. I don't know what to feel. That's so many people.
Clout. Clout.
Clout. Oh my god. That is so many people.
If you could tell 100,000 people something, what would you tell them?
Please be nice to each other.
Come on, guys.
Please be nice to each other, but also don't hesitate to be rude to Nazis. They are exempt. If someone is being racist or homophobic or transphobic or just being a huge dick, they don't deserve your niceties. Fuck them. That's what I would say. Hi friends, hello, welcome to a voiceover that we're doing because basically I just recorded I think 2 days worth of drawing or painting in my sketchbook, and I wanted to chat with y'all and catch up for a spell. How y'all been? Have you been well? My brain is also, I call it I guess it's like the working from home during a plague cycle where you kind of just go through moods, and I'm at the point in the cycle where my brain feels especially vacant. So I'm sorry if this voiceover is a bit disjointed, but you know what? We're here together. We're in this together. I love you, and we're just gonna talk our way through it. So this particular piece is actually a redraw of an older piece that I had done in my sketchbook. I drew it in December, but then I ended up painting it in March. So stylistically, it looks like what my style looked like 6 months ago. And I've been feeling really weird about my art. I've been feeling very strange and disconnected from it in a way, I guess. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I give this another go? And so I did. And I think that honestly, I captured the feeling that I was going for in that previous painting. I think I captured it a lot better here. I did also want to try underpainting again, which is where you basically I forgot to film me painting the hair and clothes and things, but they were just flat washes, and so I didn't think they would be terribly interesting. But yeah, sorry, I just forgot to film them. What was I saying? But yeah, so basically where you do a wash of a color underneath the gouache. And so I think it's definitely more apparent on my older piece that I did, but I think you can still tell that it warms up the blue a little bit, but then I layered other blues on top of it, so maybe it just all went away. Regardless, I'm much happier with this piece than I am with my previous one. Mind you, my previous one was definitely more a bit less carefully executed. I feel like I put a lot more time and care into this one. But it's cool to see how my style has progressed over the past 6 months, even in ways that I don't think, because like I said, basically since lockdown started, I've just had a very hard time making things. So it was And so as a result, I've been feeling very insecure about my artwork, and I've been feeling very like awkward and clumsy and strange. Like, I think that before I painted this, I only just posted this on my Instagram like 2 days ago from when I'm recording this voiceover, but before then it's been like a month since I've posted on Instagram, and I've just had a really hard time making things because I've also been like insecure and unsure about where I want my career to go as a whole, in like the grand scheme of things. But then I talk with my therapist and I'm like, I have a hard time planning months or years in advance when everything is so up in the air right now. And so I'm just trying to take it a month at a time, keep my goals pretty small and immediate instead of getting like too lofty and unreasonable. And I may be thinking that I can think about my like career trajectory a little clearer when things settle down. That's what I'm telling myself, at least. But making this painting was very useful and very helpful for me. It felt good to like better execute a piece that I didn't do justice the first time around. And I've been wanting to like basically just kind of sort of, I guess not really break out of my comfort zone because I'm still drawing things that I enjoy drawing, but I think that I've maybe been trying to get a little bit more experimental with colors, and I've been trying to sort of try new things in terms of like the way I draw bodies, because I feel like my work has been very lifeless lately, and so drawing this was a huge kind of relief to realize that that's not necessarily the case, and the limbs are all noodly, and I really love the composition of it. I'm so happy with the colors. I think the colors are frankly perfect. I'm very happy with how they turned out. I treated myself to some new gouache colors, which I used coral red in this painting for the red on the shirt and the red in the rainbow, and like it's a very, very good color. I also treated myself to deep yellow, which is that really pretty golden buttery yellow. So good purchases on my part, because it's very hard to buy paints and things when you can't see them in person. So I was just kind of guessing, and I'm glad that those two were good, because I got another one that ended up being like a neon green, which is not the type of green that I was after, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I can make this work. I think I actually use it in a painting that I do later in this video, and it does not work for that. But I want to find a time where I can use this like very bright, like fluorescent green color. I also got myself some like colored pencils, and I also got some wax pastels. They're water soluble. I also have a couple water soluble like colored pencils. I'm finding that I really like water soluble colored pencils for doing washes of backgrounds. That's what I used actually to do the background wash on this thing. I find it very useful because it means that I don't have to break out my watercolors, and I can just use my paintbrush. And I don't know, I just like it. I'm like trying to I feel I love watching draw with me's and studio vlogs and everything on YouTube, but I tend to get hardcore imposter syndrome just because other artists' processes and like, I don't know, practices differ greatly from my own. And so then I automatically think that I am lacking, or that I'm doing something wrong, or something about my process is weird or could be better. And I'm trying to just sort of embrace my process in whatever way it is, and I'm trying to not overthink my work. Like with this one, I like that, some of it is lined in black and then some of it isn't. I think it adds enough definition and balance to the piece. I'm like, I'm so happy with how this painting turned out. Like, I almost wish it wasn't a sketchbook painting, because I kind of want to. Oh, so this is the one that I did back in 2019. And then this is the new one. So you can kind of see the little, like, you can see the shift. The last one feels a little stiffer, and I feel like this one captures that like cozy, happy, dreamy feeling that I was really going for. Now this piece goes so badly. This is something that I was doodling in my journal because, again, talking about that like working from home quarantine brain cycle, and I was essentially at a point where like it felt like my brain was covered by a thick, dense cloud, but at the same time had been like clocked by a sledgehammer. That's how I put it on Twitter. And so I was like, how can I kind of convey this feeling? And so I had the idea of someone like holding up the weight of their head in the clouds. I don't know, I doodled it in my journal and I really liked it, and so I wanted to turn it into a small painting. And it, like, I gotta say, the colors on, again, I was trying to be like fun and experimental with my colors. It did not go it did not go well. I wish that it had, but alas. Yeah, so I used wax pastels and water-soluble pencils to do the background wash. I really love the texture of the background wash. I think that's also maybe why I like using water-soluble pencils, because I love the, I just like that you get to keep the texture, that the wash isn't totally even. I'm a big fan of that. But like, I love the idea of this piece, but the execution of it is not good. I also, like, I think that this purple for the skin tone, okay, so I've basically been really inspired by Sophie McPike's work, at Sophie McPike on Instagram. She does the most, like, colorful, like, curvy, wonderful, like, portraits of, like, femme bodies, and just looking at them, like, her colors are incredible, and I love her proportions and just how, like, I feel like her work blooms. I feel like every single piece she does literally blooms off of my phone whenever I look at her art. And so I was like, I want to use a non-traditional skin tone, and I wish that I hadn't chosen this purple, because it's not a good purple. And I think that it's probably because it doesn't go with the yellow, and it doesn't really go with the pink, because it's like too close in hue to the pink. So I think that if I had used like a blue, I think that if I had used like a cobalt blue, it probably would have worked better now that I'm thinking about it. Oh yeah, and then on the shirt, I tried to do some like plaid thing. It did not go well, as you can see. I'm trying to use that neon green. Yeah, it didn't, I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just like dreaming that it might work. I'm also realizing that like, I don't really like using pencils for outlines. Like, I really want to, but I'm just such a big fan of like clean black line art. Sometimes I like using pencils, I guess, but even like, I don't know, I'm very wishy-washy when it comes to colored line art. And like, I'm trying to, I think why doing this piece was valuable is that because like, I did learn some things about myself. I learned things not to do, and I learned about my process. And I think that in terms of, I've been really scared to play around with my work because, again, I'm so scared of making bad art. I talked about this with my therapist on Monday too, but it's like, I always give the advice to folks where it's like, you have to make peace with the fact that you're going to make bad art. You have to make bad art before you make good art, which is, I think, the reason why I'm so scared of breaking out of my comfort zone, because I'm terrified of making bad art, because I'm terrified of being bad, because I have like crippling perfectionism, I guess. And I am trying now to sort of like make just really honestly and truly be like, hey, if you want to grow in the ways that you want to grow in your art, you've gotta make some ugly stuff. Like, I save so many photos on Instagram. I save so many photos on Pinterest of things that I want to draw. And there are things that I don't draw very often, like environments and rooms and landscapes. And I think that because in my brain, I think it's like I have a hard time figuring out how to stylize them. And I really don't like crossing that gap of like making bad stuff until I figure out how I want to stylize something to make it my own. I get very uncomfy with that, but the only way to cross that gap is to make more work. It's very frustrating. So I think that this piece was a good sort of like first step. Also, you can see me painting over it just because I was so dissatisfied with the color. I ended up coloring over it with like a blue colored pencil, so it looked like a little bit better. But again, the colors were just not, I also really need, I guess I need to work on my understanding of like hue and values and stuff. Connor and I were like out on a walk through the park the other day, and I was just looking at the way that the different kinds of greens all play against each other. And even though they're all so different, they all work together with this like incredible innate balance. Like colors are so beautiful and they don't even have to try. It's very frustrating. And it's hard to recapture that. This is from, I think, the next day. I spent like 4 hours sat at our kitchen table just drawing my little heart out. Usually when I first draw for the day, I will just doodle with like an ink pen because I find that it just helps loosen me up and not think too hard about things. And again, I'm like a really big fan of like cool line work, and like I find that a lot of the time the styles that I'm really drawn to, or the styles that I've been drawn to lately, have like really incredible line work. And so I think that working with just straight up ink helps me kind of enjoy that a little bit more. It also means I don't have to think too hard about things, because the great thing about pen is that you can't erase it. And I find that when I draw with a pencil, I get really finicky about how things are turning out. So I usually like to warm up by just doodling with a favorite pen or something. I want to learn like, now I'm thinking about like, who is it? I think I'm thinking of Nina Cosford. She does the most beautiful building illustrations, and they're like all kind of like crooked and leany, and wonderful. So, like I said, I really liked this idea that I had of the person holding their head up in the clouds, but I was so dissatisfied with the execution from the day before, where I was like, we're trying it again, folks. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna figure this out. So instead of using this like dark pink watercolor pencil, I just went with my pastel pink wax pastel, used that to create a little bit of a paler pink wash for the background. I do wish that I hadn't drawn the pencil lines in like graphite. I wish that I had drawn them in like red coal erase. I think it would have made my life a lot easier, but c'est la vie. For some reason, I was working with like a cheap mechanical pencil this morning. I don't know. But yeah, I think the thing that I'm struggling with is figuring out how I want to stylize things that I don't know how to draw into my own style. And like, again, it's crossing that gap that makes me really uncomfortable. At the same time, I am trying to have grace with myself. I have to remember that I'm a baby illustrator. I've only really been doing this like with a focused effort for just over 2 years. And so I'm trying to when I think about it like that, it's honestly wild how much my style has changed in the past 2 years. Like if I found photos of like the first stickers that I had in my shop, and I was like, my God, I've improved, and thank goodness for that. But I think that I'm trying to walk this line between like being stern with myself in terms of like growth and discipline and improvement and all of these things, while also trying to remain kind and having compassion for myself. And that is a line I have a very hard time walking, because I'm definitely kind of like an all or nothing person. And so I am trying to be firm and like resolute on things I need to change, while also not beating myself up during the process. And that is very hard for me. That's definitely one of my weaknesses. So like, again, I go over this with the red pencil, and then I end up going over it again with the black fine liner, because I just love black lines. I just do. I'm just a fan. Yeah. So that's what I've been thinking about. I've just been sort of bogged down by creating. And so working on these like sketchbook pages was actually super freeing. And I was like, oh, I'm not like my career, my art isn't a total wash. I'm like, I still have skill. I still have potential. I can still, realize things that I have in my head. I also just like, again, this one, the like face is tilted a little bit more. I think it captures the expression that I was going for better. And I'm also just a really big fan of doing little like arch type backgrounds. I don't know what it is, but I really like them. So I'm sorry if they annoy you. They annoy me a little bit because I just keep defaulting to them, but I just really like them. I like how they look. They look like romantic little windows. And I think it's also a fun background shape, regardless. These are the things that I've been thinking about. I am just, so trying to move forward, trying to be kind, trying to be stern, trying to find the balance. We're always trying to find the balance. Look how much better these colors are. You can't go wrong with primary. You can't go wrong with primary colors, folks. You really can't. So besides just, speculating and contemplating my art, like with a capital A and like a big sense of the word, I've just been playing a lot of video games. I've been playing so many video games. Not so many, but like I've been putting a lot of hours into them. Because my Animal Crossing town, which I will be doing a stream or tour of at some point, I'm pretty satisfied with my Animal Crossing town, and so I usually only play it for like, 20 minutes, half an hour a day to like check in on stuff. And then I've been putting my time into Nier Automata, which my friend Audley got me for Christmas, which is buck wild, let me tell you. And then I've been playing Persona 5 Royal, because I've already put 200 hours into Persona 5, so why not put another 100 into Persona 5 Royal with all the new extra content? So, oh my gosh, it's so cute. I love the little wavy lines for the background texture too. I think that looks awesome. I'm very, very happy with this. You're actually gonna see, I think here in a moment, I don't know why, I just love this yellow. This yellow is so buttery, so I just wanted to keep painting with it. It's so dreamy. I was also thinking about painting that rose at the bottom that I sketched out in pencil. Definitely did not end up doing that, but that's okay. I also felt that the character was like, I guess like, I just wanted them to stand out a little bit more, and so I just outlined them in white to just sort of help them stand out a little bit more against all the lines in the background. And I think that was a good decision on my part. I do love adding little white sparkles. It's very satisfying, and I feel like it's always a really nice way to kind of polish a piece, I suppose. I think that this is a much better attempt than the last one. Usually I don't do this. Usually if something turns out shitty, I let it go. But like, look at that. I'm so much happier with the new one. I think that it captures the essence that I was going for way better. And also the colors are leagues ahead. So I really do love primary colors. What can I say? Oh my gosh. Okay. That's all I have for you, my friends. Before we go, I want to say a very big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate ya so much. I use Squarespace to run my online shop, have been for almost 3 years now, and I'm a big fan. They have loads of beautiful templates to choose from. You don't need to know code. They have amazing customer service, and loads of really powerful e-commerce tools that you can use to run your shop. I would know because I use them every day. If you have been looking to build a website, start an online store, a blog, what have you, you can go to squarespace.com for a free trial to set up said website, and then when you're ready to launch, you can go to squarespace.com/CheyenneBarton for 10% off your first purchase. So thank you, Squarespace. I appreciate y'all so much. I also want to say thank you to my patrons. You guys are rad, and I love you to bits. You're amazing. I think the world of you. Thanks for being here, you guys. And thank you so much for watching. I think you're incredible. I hope you're doing well. I hope that your brain isn't too foggy. And if it is, that's okay. Just like I don't know, make bread or something. I think you are the bee's knees. I love you so much. I will talk to you soon, and stay brilliant. Bye!